Segment 1, 10 minutes, here we go.
Hey, and welcome folks to This Week on DNG Radio, a production of the Diversity Networking Group. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. I'm in studio here with Millian Quinteros, the producer over here at the City FM. And folks, we just want to let you know that there's some great things going on here in Las Vegas. In this first segment, we're going to talk a little bit about some local issues because we've got a lot of great things that are going on here in Vegas, but we've got some issues that probably really need to be addressed. As a matter of fact, in the recent articles here in Vegas Inc. and in the RJ and stuff like that, they're talking about some bills that are going on that we really probably need to keep our eyes on. But before any of that stuff, folks, I got to tell you about some exciting things that have been happening with me all week long. Tomorrow at the Diversity Networking Group, for those of you who don't know the Diversity Networking Group, they actually sponsor the show here. We are going to have Santos Martinez, and Santos is the Vice President of Student Affairs over at the College of Southern Nevada. So he's going to be over at the Diversity Networking Group tomorrow, 7 o'clock in the morning, over at 7175 West Lake Mead Boulevard, and that's at the Panera Bread. And so Santos is going to be talking about, based upon what's going on at the College of Southern Nevada. So we're really excited about Santos coming out. And I just met the guy really last year. Funny thing, you can meet people at the weirdest places, but Santos and I struck up a relationship, and he said, hey, I'd love to come out and hear you speak. So he's going to come out. And so folks, we really encourage you, come at 7 o'clock in the morning at 7175 West Lake Mead Boulevard to the Diversity Networking Group, and you can hear Santos Martinez talk a little bit. And speaking of people who spoke, last week, Tony Shea. Now, we've been talking about Tony Shea an awful lot. Tony Shea, for those of you who don't know, he is the president of Zappos. I didn't know this, but he didn't actually found the company. He actually bought the company from somebody. But Tony Shea had what they call Preview here in Las Vegas. And Preview was all about what his vision for downtown Las Vegas is all going to be about. And for those of you who have not been in Las Vegas, in the last couple of years, we've hit really the skids as far as our economy and stuff like that. Well, Tony Shea came in a number of years ago with Zappos out in Henderson, and he said, hey, I'm going to bring my company from Henderson, I'm going to move downtown. And while he's back down here, he brought like a back pocket full of money, and he said, I'm going to invest money into Las Vegas and see if we can, create now I think he's got 3 things he wants to do, and I don't remember them all, but let me give you one of the things he said. He said he's going to create the most community-minded city, inner city in the world. And this guy has created at Zappos.com some of the most incredible programs and incredible things that he's doing. He actually has a whole division. Millian, got to hear this. He's got a whole division that is devoted to happiness. Can you believe? I know. If you could see the look on Millian's face right now, it's pretty much what everybody else says when they hear about this. But he has got a whole division. They are committed to happiness. And what does that mean? Well, they go around, smoking dope. No, they don't. But what they do is they go around and they basically promote happiness within the divisions that are a part of Zappos. So it's really an interesting thing, As a matter of fact, I listened to a 1-hour speech by him, which was actually recorded last year because I didn't get a chance to go to Preview this year. But the 1 hour that he did speak, one of the things he said was that they have a 2-part training or 2-part orientation for people who want to work at Zappos, and this is very interesting. If you come in the door and you've got all the talent like of an Edison or something like that, or a Steve Jobs or something like that, you come in with great talent and you've got all these great skill sets, but you got a crappy attitude, you ain't even making it in the door. You won't even make it to level 2 over at Zappos because they are trying to create a community that is all happy. They want happy people there. They want people who can work together. So if you got a bad attitude and you're trying to work at Zappos, don't even try. You might as well clean up your attitude real quick because it doesn't matter how much talent you have, they will not accept you there. So how does this come back to the whole thing downtown and preview. Well, I believe that what they're doing down at Preview is they're going to, you know, Tony Hsieh was, like I said, it was actually the 24th. They were giving the preview of what he envisions for downtown. As I get it, he basically is saying, I'm creating a happy utopian society where everybody is close together, the creative juices are all melding together, there's walking parks, everybody lives under the same roof, everybody works together, you don't have to leave downtown, and it is just simply awesome. Well, in a perfect world, that's great, and it really is, you know. And I applaud Tony Hsieh because I've lived in Las Vegas for since 1964, and since 1964, since I early can remember, people have always said we need to diversify, we need to do something else for this economy because we're a consumer or we're a service oriented society here in Las Vegas, and we service people who want to get drunk and gamble. You know, that's basically what we do. Tony Hsieh is saying, no, we want to change the whole dynamic, and we want to become a town that is tech oriented. So he wants to create like the next Silicon Valley here. So it should be very, very cool. I'm excited about Tony Hsieh, what he's doing. And so if you get a chance to go down and tour the Zappos complex or something like that, they're downtown over at the old City Hall building, and I think it's off of Carson and Las Vegas Boulevard. But you can go down there and visit him. So for those of you who are just tuning in, this is This Week on DNG Radio. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. I'm the founder and the president of the Diversity Networking Group. And we're talking a little bit about some issues that are going on in Las Vegas. But before we get to that, I really want to talk just a little bit more about what my week has been like. And Million and I, Million is the producer over here at the City FM, and we were talking about some of the things that have been going on. You know, we just kind of talked before we come on with the radio show. This has been one for me, folks. This has been one of the craziest weeks, the last couple of weeks that I've had in a long time. For those of you who don't know, I've been a business consultant for a number of years, but officially have not really gone into being an official business consultant until last year. Well, part of what I do now is I connect high net worth people, and I connect Mary Kay people too, but I connect also high net worth people. So it's been very interesting, the number of people that I get to meet on a weekly basis who are just movers and shakers. So I'm very excited about it, and I want to acknowledge one of my, who's becoming a good friend of mine, Kevin Wall. Kevin Wall is the on-air talent over at KXNT Radio. That's 100.5, and so I got to meet with Kevin and a couple of his folks yesterday. And so if you get a chance, folks, at 3 o'clock, not right now, you don't want to leave right now, you want to go at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Kevin Wall comes on. He comes on after Sean Hannity. But he's a great guy, and so he has his perspective on what's going on in Las Vegas. And so we're going to be working closer together in the future. So I want to acknowledge him and some of the folks over at Channel 3 who are working really hard, the advertising people that are over there. So, you know, some great things. Well, anyways, so what's happening in the news? When we go into the next segment, we're going to actually talk a little bit more about this, but we're going to talk about 8 bills that are actually coming to the floor for you as business owners here in the state of Nevada, that this is going to affect you folks. So I really want you to stay tuned for what's going to happen in the next segment, and we'll actually get to this article and some of the things that have been really going on that are definitely going to affect you. Before we take off, I want to remind you about the EDGE training. The EDGE training is coming up just in a couple more weeks. At the EDGE training, we actually are able to speak in the lives of business owners for 2 intensive hours. And so we just want to remind you about that. If you'd like any more information on the EDGE training, I'd like you to go to www.diversitynetworkinggroup.com. That's just one G. And also, if you would like to follow us on Twitter, folks, you can go to DivNetGrip, or DivNetGRP, and you can follow us on Twitter. We've got a lot of people who are signing up to follow us on Twitter, so I really encourage you to do that. Or you can just go to @ShermanRay7, and you can follow us on Twitter. So, once again, this is This Week on DNG Radio. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. Next segment, we're going to talk about 8 bills that are coming up in the Nevada legislature that are going to affect you as a business owner. So, folks, stay tuned, and we'll be right back. All right, hey, we're back, folks, to This Week on DNG Radio. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. Wow, the founder and the president of the Diversity Networking Group. We want to welcome all the folks that are part of the Facebook crowd, folks who are following us here on iTunes and stuff like that. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, I'd invite you to follow us at DIVNETGRP, so at DivNetGrip. Or you can follow me at ShermanRay7 on Twitter. And we want to thank all the folks who are downloading the show, because we're having a lot of people are downloading the show. We've got people from all over the world, it seems like, that are watching the show. So we want to thank you all. Hey, in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about some bills that are coming up in the Nevada legislature, and we're going to really go through them because there's only 8 of them, but they're really going to impact you as a business owner. So the first one was introduced by Assemblywoman Lucy Flores, and she's a Democrat out of Las Vegas. And she's her bill is called BDR 81, and basically what they're trying to do is and I'm going to read this out of the VegasInc.com, and it says that Lucy Flores argues that if more nutritional information were available, customers might make wiser choices when ordering from chain restaurants and their menus. And so what she's trying to do is she's trying to fight obesity through legislation. And so she would like entities that are, gosh, I think they're bigger than, if you've got more than 10 or more locations, that you have to actually put nutritional guidelines about what you're serving your people on your menus. And which is, it's kind of interesting that that you'd want to, people go to these restaurants all the time. I don't think they're really worried too much about the nutritional, things. But as you as a business owner, now you've got a legislator who's, or an assemblywoman who's saying, hey, I want to introduce something that is going to mirror a federal regulation that's already in place already. So that's BDR 81, and it's going to require restaurants with 10 or more locations to post nutritional information about what you've got. And Harvey Mumford, who's another Democrat and an assembly person, he's reviewing a failed legislation that failed last year, and they want to impose a tax, a 5% sales tax on junk food. Yeah, I know. Don't shake your head. It's true. So yes, those ho-hos, those M&Ms, and all of those good things for us, the things that we love to eat, that Mr. Mumford, under BDR 57, which is still in draft form, is going to introduce a bill that is going to seek to raise a 5% sales tax on junk food. And it's interesting because what we find out is that a lot of money is leaving the valley, especially because of this, the recession, and we don't have the growth like we had. So the government's still trying to find ways of raising that money because they're not going to stop spending money. I mean, they're just not going to stop. And so they're saying we want to raise some more money. So Mr. Mumford is finding another way by introducing this bill. Assembly Bill 39. This bill is an ephedrine sales bill. Now this is pretty interesting because if you don't know, methamphetamines, which is an addictive drug, or can be very addictive, it is abused by so many people, and here in Las Vegas, we're like the capital of the nation for meth addiction. And so they're actually introducing a bill that will allow for same-day customer verification systems that will enable pharmacists to check whether a customer has purchased pseudoephedrine products that day. Okay, and this really is this is more of a, and I kind of agree with this because a lot of people are really abusing these drugs, and it's not like them trying to go out and get ho-hos or something like that. These guys they're cooking up this stuff and they're making drugs out of it. So they're finding that people were actually buying 3 or 4 times a day, trying to get cough medicine, but they're really cooking it up, making meth out of it. There is a Chapter 40. This was a Democrat, and a lot of Democrats are really introducing a lot of bills. During the past session, one significant roadblock, Democratic Assembly Speaker John Osigujera stood in the way of Republican efforts to chip away at Chapter 40, the state's construction deficit law. Okay, and basically, if you were deficient in completing a project or something like that, you had a certain amount of time that you could actually go back and sue to have some kind of something to solve your problem with the construction. But Senate Minority Leader Michael Robertson, a Republican out of Henderson, has proposed BDR 480, which he said would mirror the legislation sponsored in 2009 by conservative Democrat Terry Carrick. This doesn't repeal Chapter 40, Robertson said. This addresses problems of guaranteed legal fees for construction deficit attorneys, and it will refine what is a defect. It would also require homeowners to file lawsuits within 3 years of the deficit instead of the current 10 years. So at this point, it's actually you have about 10 years in which to address a defect in your home. And also, one of the things that was a part of this legislation, the current legislation, or the proposed legislation, was that attorneys were guaranteeing their fees. So it seemed to me like it was just kind of a cash cow for attorneys. Yeah, I know. No, attorneys never do things like that. So there's actually a technology legislation, and we've just got a couple more, folks. I want to make sure I want to get through these. Somebody named Richard Bozian, a Democrat from Reno. Apparently some employees aren't content simply to browse prospective employees' public social media profiles. Instead, they want applicants' usernames and passwords. So this legislation will prohibit employers from requiring job applicants to violate, get this, even what the social networks sites' terms of service are. See, right now your terms of service for like Facebook or Twitter is that they said do not give this information out to anybody. And so that's when you sign up, you say, okay, I won't do this. And what there have been proposals, and proposals have said, hey, we want, as an employer, we want to not only know what you're doing, but we want your password too. And so BDR 48 would prohibit employers from getting this information. So pretty interesting stuff there too. Hey, we want to welcome folks if you're just tuning into the show. My name is Sherman Ray. I'm the founder and the president of the Diversity Networking Group. You're listening to This Week on DNG Radio, a production of the Diversity Networking Group. And we're talking a little bit about some of the bills that are up in Carson City right now that the Assembly people are trying to push through. We've actually gone through about 4 or 5 of them, and we're up to an online gaming one right now. This is Assembly Bill number 5, and this is, this was actually entered in by, I believe, Senator Harry Reid. It says, it's somewhat unusual move for a regulatory agency. The Gaming Control Board has requested state legislation that would allow Nevada to enter into interstate compacts for online gaming. Essentially, the compacts would allow Nevada-based gaming companies to build a customer base for their online products in other states. So they want to spread the wealth, spread the gaming. You know, you got to spread it around because other people want to gamble too. And you know, I'll tell you folks, I am not a big gambling proponent, and because I really think it really kind of takes away from mom and pop and people who are using their money for other things. But you know, that's the way it is. Oh, I want to get to this story. Many of you know who Ross Miller is. Ross Miller is our Secretary of State here in the state of Nevada. And what has happened? Now, folks, if you are a small business owner, you're a mom and pop business owner, and you don't make over $27,000 a year, you do not have to pay a Nevada state license fee, and that's $200. So if you're making under $27,000, you don't have to pay this fee. Okay? Well, you normally don't have to pay this. Okay? But Ross Miller found out that a few years ago, what people did is people were taking advantage of this. Like hair salons and larger companies were taking advantage of this loophole, and he closed that loophole so everybody was paying this fee because there were people who were taking advantage of it. Well, Assembly Bill BDR 479 would free any home-based business that makes less than $27,000 a year, whether it is registered as an LLC or not, from paying the business license fee. Yay! I'll tell you, I am ready to vote for whoever brought that up, because there are so many small businesses out there, the mom and pop, the home-based business owner, who has to pay this stinking $200 a year fee to become and Millie, I did too, because of the actions of others. That loophole had been closed, and a lot of people could not start a business because it costs a certain amount to get your LLC, and then you got to pay a state license fee. Then you got to pay a city license fee for any domain that you're in. So if you're in Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Boulder City, Henderson, you know, any place else in Las Vegas, you know, you have to pay a certain license fee, which prohibits small business owners. So I want to thank the person who brought up BDR 479 once again. It is a regulation that would free home-based businesses that make less than $27,000 a year from paying the license fee. That's $200. So, hey, that's some good stuff, folks. Hey, our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on down the Strip and some of the things that are going on. We'll talk about the unemployment rate in Las Vegas, and so I want you to stay tuned. This is Sherman Ray, and this is This Week on DNG Radio. We will be back in just Hey, and welcome folks to the final segment of This Week on DNG Radio. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. We were talking in the last segment about an assembly bills that have come up. And really, there's only two more, BDR 481. And BDR 481 would give the Utilities Commission oversight over the power company. And this is interesting because what's happened basically is the Southern Nevada Water Authority, they've tried to find ways of getting money to replace, the ones lost during the economic collapse. And so the authority needed to pay down $3.3 billion in infrastructure bonds. And rather than saddle residential customers and big casinos with the rate increase, the water regulators passed the burden onto the business community. Thank you very much. And so, and in some cases, their water bills in certain companies tripled. And I think we talked about this last year, where some of these people are tripled. Robertson, responding to concerns from business owners, began looking for a way to hold the Southern Nevada Water Authority board more accountable. And he thinks he found it. His solution was to give the Nevada Public Utilities Commission oversight over the Southern Nevada Water Authority. And that way they couldn't just start, assessing and charging people money all the time. So that's BDR 481. So that'll be great. So I think that it's unlikely that the Water Authority will start raising rates again because they'll have an oversight committee. And then lastly, in 2008, Nevada voters approved a constitutional amendment that allows residents to legally possess medical marijuana. So there's been people who have been legally finding the pot because even though there was a law that was brought into effect in 2008, people couldn't legally obtain drugs. So I mean, they could smoke it, for medicinal purposes, but you just couldn't find it. So Senator Tick Segerblom, Democrat of Las Vegas, wanted to change that, so he introduced BDR 49, and it's still in draft form, but it would create a dispensary network that would be licensed and taxed by the state. So there you go, folks. Now, if you want to open up your own pot shop, instead of a head shop, you can be a full-service place
At home.
At home, yeah, and be a home-based business, of course, so you don't get charged the $200 up until $2,700, and so that's so that was that was Bill BDR 89. So we're gonna create a medical dispensaries and stuff like that. Interesting. Anyways, hey, let's talk a little bit about some of the statistics that are happening in Vegas. They were saying that. Did you know that Vegas once again hit by the recession big time, and our unemployment rate has actually been sitting around 10%. Okay. They said the official number comes out every month and hovers these days around 10% statewide and 8% nationally. Okay, those rates are down from respective recession peaks of roughly 14% and 10%. Well, that's really the number they tell you, but there's actually a number that's called the U6 number. Okay, and that U6 number takes into account things that we don't normally see. Okay, the underemployed. Those stop looking for work, those who prefer full-time positions as opposed to part-time positions, okay? And the findings that Nevada jobless rate actually changed from the 14% up to, get this, 20.3%. I know, that's crazy. That we're actually at 20.3% in 2012 compared to the annual average rate of 11.6, which is the official rate, okay? Which strictly counts unemployed people who are actively looking for work. So this U6 rating really gives us a better barometer of what really is going on in Vegas. Because even though the federal government says, oh, we're doing just great, they are only taking into account those who are actively looking for work. So those people, there's a bunch of people who said, hey, you know what, I don't want to be underemployed, I don't want to work part-time, I'm tired of looking, and they just dropped out of their job market. So it's easy for the government to say, oh, okay, well, instead of 100,000 people out of work, only 80,000 are actually looking for work. So that's how we gauge unemployment, which is just bogus. So Vegas, we are still trying to dig out of this morass. But the interesting thing about this is that right now the big debate on the Hill is about immigration. And a lot of people say, hey, guess what? We've got to get this immigration thing under control. When President Obama got into office in 2008, one of the things that he failed to do, and many people would, I don't think anybody would argue about this, is that he went after health care. Was his number one thing that he really went after. And he did not address what was really the big issue, and that was jobs. That was building an environment where jobs could be created. And there's actually an article, and we probably won't get a chance to get to it, but it basically says, hey, guess what, that there is an urgency for economic growth. And I'll just read the first part of it. And this is by a guy named A.J. Dion. And this was out of the Sun. And it says, if you care about deficits, you should want our economy to grow faster. If you care about lifting up the poor and reducing the unemployment, you should want our economy to grow faster. And if you are a committed capitalist and hope to make more money, you should want your economy to grow faster. Okay? So that was E.J. Dion. Now, our highest priority right now in our country is arguing over a fiscal cliff. We're arguing over immigration. We're arguing over pot smoking. We're arguing over health care. But the underlying problem in this country is that our economy is not growing faster. And if you can get our economy to heat up, it will take care of a lot of this stuff. I mean, a lot of the things that we're going through right now will be taken care of if we were really focused more on creating business, focus on creating jobs for people, because a lot of people are just out there and they're just they're getting unhealthy because they're sitting at the house. They're getting complacent and they're creating crime because they're sitting at their house. But if they had jobs to go to, if there was a structure or an environment put in place that would help these people, find their niche in life, then I'll tell you, a whole lot of things would change here in this America. Well, anyways, folks, this show has just been flying by so quickly. But before we take off, I really want to let you know about some things that are going on with the Diversity Networking Group. Tomorrow, over at the Panera Bread, 7175 West Lake Mead Boulevard, we've got Santos Martinez. I can't even roll my R's. Martinez, and he's from the College of Southern Nevada. He's going to be speaking over at the Diversity Networking Group at 7175 West Lake Mead Boulevard at the Panera Bread. Starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. We also have the EDGE training. And the EDGE training actually is going to be on the second Tuesday in February. Really excited about that because we had a lot of people who said, hey, I want to be a part of the EDGE training. And so that is going to be over at 2620 Regatta Drive, suite number 102. It's over in the Lakeside Business Suites. And that starts at 7 o'clock also. But that's 7 o'clock at night. And we are starting our newest networking group, which is called the Las Vegas Business Promotion Network. And it is actually starting tomorrow, where we're having our first meeting. And that is over at the, what room? I think it's called the Venice Room or something like that, over at the Las Vegas, or the Lakeside Business Suites. And it's at 2620 Regatta Drive. That starts at about 6 o'clock, and that's really a high net worth networking group. We're all about business. We're all about promoting each other. So really excited about that. That's our newest venture that we're moving into. Hey, and I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show today. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at DIVNETGRP. That's DIVNETGRP, Diversity Networking Group. Or you can follow me at Sherman Ray 7, and you can find out all about what we're doing and all those great things. Once again, this has been Sherman Ray, and this has been This Week on DNG Radio, a production of the Diversity Networking Group. We really thank you guys for being here, and we will see you next week at 10:30, same bat time, same bat channel. You can download this, of course, at iTunes in just a bit, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you once again. We'll talk to you later.